Uh, Chirpa 52 says, how can I handle the anger I have at my son for getting back with his narcissist? Anger, that's an interesting emotion. Um, when a person is in an abusive relationship of any kind, whether it's emotional, physical, kind of what have you, it really oftentimes burns out their friends and family because it's so hard for them to sit back and to watch all of this unfold again and again and again. Statistically speaking, on average, a person goes back 7 times before they leave for good. And if it's a dangerous relationship, 7 times before they leave for good or they're killed. So it's part of it. It's part of it. It's sort of like it takes practice quitting. I would encourage you, I don't know kind of, the relationship you have with your son, but if you would be comfortable, giving him a link maybe to my videos or, even and again, like it's hard because when a person's in that fog of cognitive dissonance, they're wanting that relationship to work out. They're wanting to, they're glorifying the good and they're minimizing the bad. It can be really hard to get through to them. If they go on the outs again, you might want to mention, hey, son, look up gaslighting, look up narcissism and see. I think if he could get into a support group, even if he doesn't participate, even if he just reads other stories, especially other stories from men, then I think he'll be able to more readily see the problematic behavior that this woman has. Because I think a lot of women or a lot of men, tend to, like the way that they justify a woman's bad behavior is they think, well, all, good looking women are problematic, right? Like it's sort of like that saying, like the hotter she is, the crazier she is. And like, that's not true. So, just people gloss over stuff, or they say, oh, women are hormonal, right? Or, these are like common excuses for women's bad behavior, but it's not okay. It's never okay to have bad behavior, to have abusive behavior, right? But a lot of men get caught up in that. And it's in that kind of mindset, it's often reinforced by other guys that they're hanging out with. And guys tend to not talk about this kind of stuff from what I hear, with other guys, which makes sense. Because, women, it's more socially acceptable. We talk about everything, all the time. Men tend to not be that way so much. And so when they're going through a confusing experience like this, especially if it's an abusive relationship, there's that added component of, confusion, isolation, and then embarrassment and shame, thinking, oh, well, she really wears the pants. And I think it can be very like emasculating for a lot of men. So they oftentimes have a hard time, they have a hard time getting out of it because they're like, there's so many components at play. If she's love bombing him again, and it's the cycle. This is the cycle of narcissistic abuse. It runs a very set course of idealize, devalue, discard. The more education he can do on what he's experiencing, the better he'll stand a chance at actually getting away from this. So, my website is called thriveafterabuse.com. All of my contact info for, my website and my support group and all of that, it's in my YouTube about page. And I would say maybe see if he's open to sitting in a group and chatting with some men. I think, and I'm sure that there's probably some men's only groups out there. But if he comes into the group, and if we kind of know ahead of time, who he is and stuff, I can see if some of the guys in the group can reach out to him and talk to him. But I think watching the red flag videos, a lot of stuff was going to make a lot of sense. Yeah, Tara says, from my experience as a victim of abuse, I was addicted to the cycle. Breaking it means leaving the good feeling chemicals for a very long time. And that's really what it is. It's really hard when there is all of that love bombing, because it feels so good. And a person, she's probably coming across like his ultimate woman. She's saying and doing everything where he's feeling like the luckiest guy in the world, because that's what they do. So it's the good times are really good, the bad times are really bad. And when you're in it, it takes about 7 times to really see the extent of the problematic behavior, because we all, right, tend to project our good behavior, our conscience, our empathy, our our worldview onto other people. Like, that's just kind of a normal human trait that normally works, right? Except when you're dealing with a highly problematic person like an emotional manipulator. Because here we are thinking we believe them, right? If they're like, oh, I'm really sorry, or, kind of, oh, it's due to my childhood or whatever. We want to believe them. And so we give them the benefit of the doubt. We take all these, we accept all their excuses. And, that's how they manipulate. Let me write it down real quick because I have a hard time remembering it. There's an acronym I came up with a while back with how emotional manipulators manipulate. And it's called ICHIVE. And it stands for isolation, charm, hope, intimidation, violence, and emotion. And under emotion is the sub acronym of FLOG, which stands for fear, love, obligation, and guilt. And so it's that all of those together is how they weave their web and like lure people in and keep them there. But yeah, I would see if he'd be willing to sit in an online support group, and just even for an hour, and do some reading. And it's hard. It's got to be so hard. I can only imagine, like, being a parent and watching your child go through this. And you might want to ask him to just say, is this the kind of woman that you want to have children with? Is this the kind of woman that if you did have children, that they would be glad that she was their mother? And try to kind of get him to think about her behavior from like somebody else's point of view, So I think sometimes it can be easier to see that way.
Lots of love to you guys. You are not alone. You are not crazy, and you really can move forward and heal from this.